I believe we can start. So, hello everyone, welcome to this weekly MSI demo. Today we have a rather interesting agenda because we'll be showcasing at least two real-life implementations of Magento MSI, one of which is the big website, and another one is the large extension which introduces really a lot of features on top of MSI. Apart from that, we'll be talking about progress on store pickup and some items which also happened during last week. So I'll be starting with this something we are currently working hard on. It's test automation improvement because we have reviewed all of the test cases we had and found out that we might have some gap in automation coverage. So this week we dedicated quite a lot of time to it, and we have at least like 4 or 5 pull requests which cover more than 50 test cases. Most of these test cases relate to the web API and to integration testing, but still it's huge step towards quality improvement. Currently, I'm working on merging all of this into one big pull request and verifying these items with our internal CI/CD, and after that, we'll be delivering this pull request. So I'm pretty sure next week Tom will join us and share the reports with the new numbers, which would be much better. Another thing we've been working on is the documentation reservations because we had quite a big discussion which happening both here and sometimes tickets pop up on the Stack Exchange and other resources. And basically the problem people have is the reservations mechanism, because in some cases it may be unobvious for integrators how to integrate in like MSI and reservations with their existing ERP systems. So we had a few people here in this conversation with different ideas, starting from disabling reservations completely, and some discussions on how to overcome these kind of problems. And what we can see that most of guys have sophisticated cases related to integration with third-party systems. So we think that we're gonna have to document, maybe implement some kind of user guide or developer guide, which would share the information on how to do this integration properly with MSI, sharing multiple cases, like when the ERP source of truth, when synchronization happens by schedule or by some specific business event. Currently, we have quite a big major comment with some information, but we have to do some more work, maybe involve Vadim, who is expert in this area, and come up with a bigger document which would describe all of the cases. So yeah, this is what we have on the table pretty much. And I think now we can proceed to our agenda items. And first, I'd like to welcome Mateusz to the stage, who will be sharing some information on the store pickup implementation, because Mateusz and his team has started working on the checkout UI for store pickup. So I think this is first MSI feature like bundled with Magento, which has something displayed to the customer. So this is really exciting. Mateusz, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me well right now. And I hope you can actually see my screen already. Yeah, so as it was mentioned, since we need the picking store functionality anyway for one of our clients, we decided that we would like to contribute to Magento itself and to the MSI, because we saw it, you have it on the roadmap. And so I have started working on this picking store switcher in the checkout, which would be the first phase of this feature. Yeah, we have the issue nicely written already. There is already also a pull request out there. This is just a draft that I pushed because, yeah, to be honest, it was my first this major pull request to Magento itself. So I wanted to get some feedback about the code and all the other matters. Thank you to everyone who actually responded and gave me some additional information or some things that I should fix in this pull request. For those of you who are not aware how this feature should actually look like, here we have some mockups already prepared by the MSI team. The addition in the checkout is that we have this picker at the top, which allows you to define which delivery method. I believe this is the official naming. Which delivery method you would like to choose, whether it should be shipping or pick in store. And under the pick in store tab, we have this store selector and the additional email address field. And this is actually maybe I'll just reload the page. This is how I managed to implement it. The cool thing about this, yeah, first of all, it tries to inherit all of the front-end variables and styling that we already have in Magento. So if you already, let's say, adjusted the sizing of big buttons in Magento, then it should automatically inherit it and should be consistent with the rest of the shop. This was the first goal. Yeah, so at the top we have this selector in here. By default, it is adjusted to shipping, as you can see, and here we have a normal shipping form. But we are also able to switch to the pick in store view, which is tightly coupled to this shipping step itself. So that every time we see the shipping step, we have this selector and pick in store is available in here. We also have this email address here in here, which actually also has the same functionality that we have at the normal shipping step. So it will autocomplete, or it will actually say that, hey, we have this email address already in the database, please log in first. As you can see, what is missing still in here is the actual store pickup, but I believe this will be maybe a part of a totally separate pull request. For now, my goal was to introduce this selector, which I actually managed to do without overwriting any of the Magento core files itself, which I consider quite a big win. I am only using some XML definitions plus some UI components, which I still have to adjust based on the comments that you already left in there. Yeah, what I was also a little bit blocked with was the lack of the shipping method for in-store pickup. So if right now, if I would try to proceed to the payment method, you can see that backend responded that there is no such shipping method, but I believe that it was already merged. So I'll make sure to rebase to the newest sources, and I will continue my work on that. It was a bit on hold, to be honest, because we were on the Meet Magento in Germany. But I'll make sure that I catch up as soon as possible, and we'll continue working on this feature also as fast as I can. So yeah, that will be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mateusz. This looks really great. And, I think I have some minor questions. First of all, what happens when a customer or guest has only virtual item in the quote? Does this picker disappears together with the shipping step, or is it something we still have to implement or think about?
Yeah, so I'm actually not sure, and I believe this was one of the comments left in the merge request, which I still need to check because I honestly didn't think of this scenario. There are also some other questions which originate from the fact that I was inspiring heavily on the shipping form itself. And as I saw, even the shipping form in the core is not using the best practices that are advised by you guys in the merge request. So I'll make sure that I adjust the merge request, and then I should be able to answer your question.
Okay, that sounds really great. Actually, I think most of the rules and recommendations we have today were not in place when this checkout implementation was in progress. So no
Yeah.
wonder no wonder now we have much more strict standards and well, we might end up with something which will be easier to support. But thank you very much. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
you mentioned the shipping method. It's already merged, and I took the liberty of updating your pull request with the latest changes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's already even in your branch. Yeah, thank you, Mateusz. Thank you very much. Maybe anyone has any questions regarding this implementation or any comments?
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Matthews. We had been waiting for this feature for a really long time. Well, feel free to contact me or Alexander Kravchuk. Probably.
I think we lost the connection.
Yeah, looks like Maxim has some connection issues. But I suppose he just wanted to comment that it's really cool.
Yeah, anyway, as we already discussed in the merge request, there will be some additional backend work which has to be done. For example, to provide the configuration for the store pickup itself to the checkout, and also accept selected stores, etc. So I think that will be in a close contact um, anyway. So yeah, but thank
Sounds
you
great.
very much for help.
And then I guess it's time to move on to the next item on the agenda. And today is a rather unusual case for the MSI demo because Rodrigo agreed to showcase their actual implementation of a large store, which is heavily using and heavily relying on MSI, and share some thoughts on benefits and maybe even some negative sides on the decision to use MSI. Rodrigo, feel free to jump in.
Okay, how are you? Okay, quick introduction about the store that we are running. Let me share my screen. Is a Ruge retail department store here in Brazil. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, so this is the store. They have more than 100 stores, physical stores in Brazil, and they have the stock for online and also for each store. Do you have an idea of the size of this one picture of one of these stores? So it's huge. They use it like Liberty State on the store. All the stores are very huge. It's like in United States bigger than Walmart. So was very complex because they have about 20,000 SKUs and we have a short deadline time to develop the project. So I will show the store pickup how is the behavior right now and the next features that you might have. So this is one product. We have here like on product page it's a simulation of the code. So when we run, we show if it's available for store pickup, and I'll have a button here for show where is the store. For store pickup, we are checking using the latitude and longitude. Are not Google Maps. You use geolocation from Google just to identify the latitude and longitude from zip code of customer, and we implement a limit of the stores that we will show for the customer. So if I add in the cart, the experience is not like UI will be on store pickup up to MSI, because will be more complex to change the UI and behavior of the checkout. So we decided just to create a shipping method. Let me add again here the zip code. So here we add. I can also ask to receive in my home or choose a store here. It's a very simple store pickup module that we create here. And we use the structure of the MSI to control the stock quantity for each source that is a physical store. I will show for you are here. Okay, we define if it support or not support store pickup, and here is the position of the store. Didn't do the mistake to invert these coordinations, because a customer cannot pick up on the middle of the ocean a store, a product. Well, the API during the development, the integration team invert these fields and didn't work, the location. But we use this feature for store pickup, we just take the pull request from Magento. So here we use the Magento Inventory store pickup toggle, and was just plug and play. So this is admin UI and also API for source for this, work very well, just plug and play. And for our shipping method, we just save on shipping method of the order the pickup store code. Like here, I filter some orders to show. We showed save on the shipping method the ID of that source, the code, that is the physical store code. So the ERP team received this on the order. We didn't need to do any customization and worked very well. I think also a feature that we developed that was interesting and just received this requirement after the store had the go live, that is distance, to limitate the nearest store, show just the closest store for the customers, not show, okay, we don't have this product on the nearest store that is like 20 minutes, here is 50 kilometers from my zip code, so the nearest store is just 1,000 kilometers. Didn't make sense show so far a store, so we added this here. I think that we had two issues. I think that was integration for the source quantity. When we use in one single request, like 2,000 products, the request runs very slow because there is one query on save order item and for the source that is very slow. But when we take like about 60 seconds to run, but when we reduce the quantity of the integration like to 50, we can run 50 requests with 50 products, run faster than 2,000 products in one single request. So we are checking, talking with the MSI guys to see why is the reason to so slow when using more products. So it's faster, reduce the quantity of the products using on integration, the stock. And this stock API integration runs every 20 minutes to avoid a customer buy a product that are not available on for store pickup. So was that we did are working well. We are not having any issues. MSI sources was the main feature that we use, multiple source here. And we have a next project that will be a Espaço Laser that we are developing this store that will be more complex than Avan for store pickup because Avan has 100 stores. Espaço Laser has 400 stores, sorry, but the stores are very close one from another. So in the same street you can have two stores. So we need to show to the customer the nearest store ordered by a distance. So we are probably we will implement the Google Matrix Distance API and not the Google Common Distance API. So Matrix, you can send 10 stores in one request to Google to receive the distance. I think that's that. I don't know if anyone has any question about this implementation or about the...
Actually, this implementation is really exciting, and throughout the demo, we had quite a lot of questions. We're here in the room together with Igor. And, the last question I think popped up. How did you customize the UI for the source assignment on product page? Because I imagine with this number of sources, it can be, can look quite complicated.
Yeah, no, in the store, in the product page, for now, we didn't assign the sources to a stock. So this is store pickup are like not assigned to any stock source to be more, not have multiple sources in the e-commerce. This store use separated stocks for e-commerce and physical store. They didn't do transfer between the store. So we have one source for e-commerce. So there we do the request to check where that products are available on sources, not crossing, checking if the stock are associated with the current store.
Yeah. So actually, maybe we have some unclarity here. So actually, what we thought that maybe did you make any customization of the look and feel of the admin panel and of the inventory management of MSI? Because potentially having 100 sources in your case, it will overwhelm the product grid and the product page, because if the product is assigned to many sources, that will make the product page really big, long, and maybe it will screw it up completely. For example, we've seen that on a tool site implemented by Strix, so that Strix adjusted our grid implementation because they had up to 50 sources assigned to the stock. So the stock grid was overwhelmed and the product grid was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's not so bad in your case?
No, it's not so bad. I need to confirm because not all products are available on all sources, but we can test this and share the results. But not even. I think that we didn't face this issue like you are saying because we didn't associate all products right now to store pickup. So you can see here there is some products that are not available, others are. I can check this and share these tests and also post the screenshots on Slack.
So just consider this as a potential issue for your next project where you will have up to 400 sources.
Okay, thank you.
That might be complicated. And really, one more question, since we have also been actively working on the store pickup feature, for the core MSI. Do you think you will be eventually migrating to at least two APIs which we will be providing, or are you going to stick to your own implementation now?
Which APIs did you mean?
I mean that currently we are also working on the store pickup as a core feature for MSI. So you also demonstrated that you had some store pickup API. And like my question is, would you be eventually migrating to the ones which we release, or do you plan on sticking to your APIs completely?
We didn't define that yet, but for the store pickup, we are using the APIs, but for the module and also the experience on checkout, etc., we are following the development of the store pickup on MSI, and our idea is in the future migrate, and we are trying to all new implementation or custom implementation that we are doing, because sometimes because the project deadline we cannot wait or also work on the same requirements. We are trying to keep it mostly at the same implementation approach, at least.
Sounds really great. Thank you for information on this. Maybe anyone else have questions? Mark?
Yeah, Rodrigo, I did have one question. It's a great demo, so thank you for that. I noticed in the admin settings you were showing a maximum limit. I think it was 50 kilometers of which sources to bring back. Is taking that approach working for the merchant? Because on in-store pickup, we have looked at whether we need to make that something configurable by the shopper on the front end, that they can pick the distance of how far away they want to see. So I would be interested whether you feel like an admin setting is meeting the needs of the merchant.
Yeah, the admin was the merchant that required this feature, because they have just like a one store in a city on you don't have in the same region many stores on the city, so they prefer to didn't show the store that's so far from customer. So if it's like 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, okay, didn't show this for the customer. And I think for business perspective, a new implementation that they would like to have this is, for example, if a product is not available for e-commerce in e-commerce store, okay, allow customer to buy to store pickup. And other requirement that they have, and MSI, I think didn't have this feature. That is, they didn't do right now transfer between the physical store. So just show available for immediately store pickup products.
Okay, great.
Actually, I think I have one more question. Do you search only by the postcode, or do you accept any other criteria? Because I've seen you input like the address in search.
Yes.
So is it only postcode?
No, not really. Google has some bug on Brazil, I think, for zip code. So when we search just using zip code, we have a dash on Brazil splitting the zip code just for customer. So if we search all numbers on Google, sometimes it turned the address, some other times didn't find the latitude and longitude, the geocoding from that zip code. So before we do a request for a zip code, using zip code on zip code base, and after we send to Google to take the latitude and longitude. But this, so we needed to do that. To avoid this request all the time for Google and also to the zip code, we create like a cache on customer address. We add the latitude and longitude fields because the address is, once we have this information for that zip code is the same. For Espaço Laser, that new project that we will have 400 stores, will be more complicated because, like I told, they have a very close stores, like crossing the street or 100 meters another store. So we needed to change this using also the number of the address. It will be very specific.
I see. Thank you for the details. And once more, thank you very much for the presentation. It's really exciting. And just to double check, maybe anyone else on the call has any questions while Rodrigo is here. Looks like that's it. Thank you very much. And okay, now we're going to proceed to the next item on the agenda. And today it's another demo, but not of the store this time, but of the extension. And I believe extension is called Advanced MSI. So today we have author of this extension on the call, and he agreed to share some information on the features he implemented, and maybe some details on how good the process went. Please feel free.
Okay, so hi everybody. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, let me share the screen. So I want to introduce you a new extension, Advanced MSI. Second. I'm using this application first time. Let me find how to share this screen. Okay, here is it. Okay, do you see?
Yes, we can see it now.
Yes.
Fine. So, unlike the default functionality, this module allows to select a source on a storefront site. The default MSI allows to pick a source on the backend side when admin decides what source to assign. This extension allows a customer, a visitor, to pick a source. Each source, here is it. So this is a product option. Source comes as a product option. So a customer can choose a source. Also, we have estimate totals box that allows to estimate totals for each source. So customer can decide what source is more suitable. For example, we have United States and Canada. So shipping rates, product prices, and taxes can vary depending on source as well. You can enable or disable shipping carriers per source. You can enter price specific for sources and taxes for now. So visitors selects a source. A visitor can select different sources for the same products. Here is how this process looks. As you can see, here is an additional option source for the product. It's reflected everywhere where the product is mentioned. And a shipping method selector. A visitor can select shipping method for each source. Now we have two sources in our cart, and we can select two shipping methods for each source. So, when order is created, we can have a single order that is common for all sources, or we can split orders depending on sources. It can be convenient for store owner to split orders. This is a short overview of the model. Another interesting place is we can define shipping settings and shipping methods. I had to extend standard configuration settings and edit source selector, so we can enter shipping rates, enable or disable shipping carriers, etc. Everything. We can do it for a source. So this is a flexible mechanism that allows to define carriers, rates, and the shipping origin for each source. Here is it. We can even define table rates. Also, it's very easy to add a custom shipping or third-party shipping carriers using this mechanism. A backend site where admin can do the same. Oh. On the backend side, we can choose shipping method for each source as well. Here is the shipping information that combines shipping for both sources. Also, okay, so here is it. We can, as you can see, here is in another source selection algorithm added, a default, which means a source selected by a customer. You can reassign a source here on your own. So I had to implement source level reservation because the standard stock level reservation didn't work in my case. This is how source items administration looks in admin. So you can choose a price, you can choose the text class. Okay, so I have some more features coming, but I need to get first feedbacks from a customer. I have some experience in this field area. I had a multi-warehouse model for the first Magento, so I have collected a lot of feedbacks from the first Magento customers, and this is the commonly asked functions. And I think, and I can append more with the time. About the future functions, I want to add an ability to hide sources from visitors, so job shippers can hide sources, but at the same time they can manage shipping costs that depend on sources. Well, that's it.
Thank you for the great demo. Me would be regarding, do you have any benefits or degradations with this kind of implementation? Because I believe shifting the source selection from admin to some other steps may have different kinds of performance implications to Magento.
Okay, I didn't hear the first part of question due to this.
Yeah, I had some connection issues, I assume. So did you measure performance with your extension installed? Is it different in a better way or in a worse way compared to the stock Magento with stock MSI?
So the question is related to performance.
Yes.
Actually, I can't. I don't see this can be a problem. I keep in mind my experience with the first Magento, so there is nothing that can overload the front end side. I had some issues for the first Magento, but now it will not be a problem because it cannot be a lot of sources available for a single product. So, but actually, I think I can write some tests and generate some more data to test it. For now,
yeah, this is really interesting subject actually, like to me, because we had different kinds of performance issues with the different MSI implementations, and even with the stock one, like the custom, not the custom, but the one which is in the repository without customization. So this is something interesting to me, and if you will do some measurements someday, that would be great if you shared some insights on what you achieve.
I noticed one thing: we can add more caching for the MSI. I didn't met it, so sometimes it can run multiple requests. I found some places, so this is a subject of optimization. Another possible issue, shipping rates calculation. I had it for the first Magento. When we use UPS or something else, another shipping carrier that relies on third-party service provider that can take a time. So, but I keep it in mind, so it shouldn't be a problem. I think I can cache requests to fetch rates, etc. So caching should solve the problem.
I see.
In fact,
You said there are some areas in the MSI itself which can also leverage caching. Do you have any examples now? Because it's really
I don't
interesting.
have a code by hand, but I can.
Maybe it's just a scenario where we could introduce some caching. Not code is not necessary.
Well, there are some calls when they are not cached. In fact, if you look at the Magento code, you can find some variables that store data cached from a database server. In MSI, I found that we can add some places to avoid duplicated database requests, for example, or to avoid some looping. So it's not it's not a dramatical issue, but it can improve quality, and it can be useful in case of multiple sources when we have some 100 sources or so. I just to say truly, I didn't test it, so performance is a subject of further improvement. It should work for some tens or thousands sources for now, I think. But we can improve it.
Sounds great. Actually, just a reminder, MSI is completely open source, so if you see anything you can improve, you're welcome to the repository. We'll also always be happy to collaborate with you, and if you have any performance fixes, we'll get those merged definitely.
Okay.
Maybe anyone else on the call has some questions?
What I really like, or like, we had a conversation with Mark back to Magento Imagine 2019 with one of the merchants who was considered MSI as a potential solution for his business. And that time it was a gap of functionality of the sales stack calculation. So that if I heard properly, you said that you are filling that gap and you make the correct, not correct, but you make the calculation of the sales tax at the checkout step, like in accordance with the particular source which gonna be used for the order. Is it correct?
Yes.
And how the system behaves if that you will make the decision after the order is placed to change the source selection?
In fact, there is no ability to change the source on the front end, but it can be manageable by admin. For now, as I can see, we can simply recreate an order and assign a correct source.
So it's not possible to change the source selection by admin, or it's still preserved?
Let me think. One second, I should check with scenario. To say truly, I am not ready to respond now. So this question needs some more investigation. I cannot answer it right now. Actually, we have source selector in backend. I need to refresh it to get the correct answer. I don't know. So very interesting question. I can check, but I need some time to
Okay, sure.
and to have my code by head to check it.
And you mentioned the source level reservation which you introduced. Do you have some can you make the brief description of how this source level reservation is implemented?
It's really simple. You had it by stock, so I have it changed to sources. There is nothing difficult, so it's simple work.
So you are bypassing our stock level reservation at all, and you are making that on the source level, or they are
Yes.
somehow connected? So you are bypassing.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, I can show the code how it was done by. I don't have it, but
Yeah,
the
but
only thing I
actually
have some screens, and that I didn't see for 1 week or so.
But
so I can.
Is it just a question? Is it really a reservation, like some independent object, or it's just direct source deduction?
1 second. So it's implemented similar how it was done for stock. I have the reservation model extended. You have stock ID variable here, so I have it replaced with the source. And so there is nothing difficult. So I follow all the things that you have in MSI, with the only difference that the stock ID field is replaced with a source. So we can reserve sources, quantities for sources instead of stocks. I need it on front end. If I understand the question correctly.
Yep, yeah, pretty much. Okay, thank you very much for the exciting demo. Just wanted to double check if anyone else on the call has any questions. Maybe Mark.
There are many things, but we need to review the code. So there are many interesting things and sections in this code to talk about by this in-depth exploration. And
we can do this anytime. We are reachable on Magento Community Engineering Slack, all of the MSI team actually. So if you have any subject you would like to discuss with us, we're always happy to answer and to talk on it. Okay. I think we don't have any more questions for today. So this was the last presentation on today's agenda, I believe. And yeah, I believe we can wrap up, and we'll meet you, all of you, next week, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for the awesome presentations, because today we had some really interesting cases, like new pull requests and extensions, and really actual case with the actual big store, department store. So this was really interesting, at least to me, and I believe for everyone else on the call as well. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.